What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Impact Defense Podcast. This is episode 115B, or 115 and a half, or 115, and I just screwed up the actual 115. So, yeah, anyway. Okay, so if you are a regular listener to the podcast, then that means yesterday you got a download of the Impact Defense Podcast that started out strong with me and Jada, and then all of a sudden we had an interview, and nothing came through. I got texts, multiple texts, and emails, and then people in person telling me, Brian, yeah, so fun little story about that really quick. Did all the recording for that one, went editing process, did all of that. At the end of the day, it was me who screwed up. I'll just tell everybody straight up. So I edited it out in our podcast, edited out video and everything. And in that moment, at the very end, right before I processed the video, I muted our track that I normally mute it. But this time, when I would do a video over Zoom, or an interview over Zoom, it just went away. We lost all of our interviews. That's on a different track. The audio from the interviews is on a different track than it is when we're doing live stuff. And it's something I'm just not used to doing quite as consistently. And so I muted it out. But I guess for your viewing or probably listening pleasure, because viewing pleasure, it's me and Matthew. So I have discussed my brother several times on the podcast, but we've never actually had him on the podcast. We've got several firsts today. This is the very first time that Matthew's ever been on the podcast.
He goes.
Okay. And he waved for you guys that are listening. And
I'll
then
wave for the video watchers.
Oh, okay. This is the very first time that we have ever started recording before 7 a.m. This is so if we look extra tired on the video, that is the reason. This is also the first time that we have ever attempted to record, edit, and release all within the span of 3 hours. Wow. So big ambitious day here. So if it does not come out by 10 a.m., that means I have failed. So my private lessons and everything starts today at 10. So I'm trying to get over this done before then. All kinds of firsts today. But what I want to do first, instead of our normal news story, is actually kind of give a quick synopsis of our interview with Tim. The other part of this is not only did I screw that up, but then I am working on selling a computer, and I edited this on that computer, and then I got all this done. And as soon as I did it, I formatted that whole computer and lost everything. So, yeah, fun times. But before we get into that synopsis, I want to go ahead and say our first sponsor for the podcast, as always, is Blackout Coffee. So, Blackout Coffee, as I mentioned this morning, we're kicking it in before 7 a.m. Yes. So, we're relying on that brutal awakening more than ever this morning, because when I start to edit this thing, I'm almost afraid of how it's going to sound.
We'll do all right.
Okay. Check out impactgear.live/coffee. And if they don't have a sale going on right now, then use the coupon code Impact Defense, because that can always get you at least 10% off. All right, guys. So now to our synopsis. I'm not going to take too long doing this. It's hard. I can't do a one-sided conversation here and replace Tim.
Well, you can't replace Tim. He's irreplaceable.
That is very true. Sometime I'm going to get you and take you up there with me sometime and do something with Tim, because he's a tremendous amount of fun. And I know you have yet to meet him. We're also talking about bringing him here and having him do a class on room clearing.
Very cool.
Yes.
Definitely one I'm going to see, or going to get involved in.
Yeah. So a lot of fun. All right. So really quick, what I was saying in that episode was I worked with some local law enforcement. I've worked with some other people. I especially work with people who need to meet certain requirements. And it's really, really funny, because some people come in and will do some private lessons with us. They have multiple goals, or really it's just two when it's something like that. They're either working in security and they have to meet certain shooting requirements, or they're working as a police officer or something like that and they have to meet certain shooting requirements. Or they're just here to get a concealed carry permit and they have to meet certain shooting requirements. And there's generally one or two responses, and that is, I want to be the best shooter I possibly can be, or that is, I just want to meet these minimum requirements so I can do this thing, so I can keep my job, so I can get a job. And I honestly find that it's really one of the two. It depends on how people train and stuff like that. For Tim, knowing that, and more recently that I learned that 80% of the military doesn't actually shoot a gun on a regular basis.
Wow.
Well, 80% of the military support the 20 that do. I assumed that Tim would come across a lot of people who would be like, kind of like some of those people that I've worked with where it's just like, I'm just here. I just got to meet this minimum requirement so I can move on and get back to my job as an office worker, a mechanic, a cook, or whatever they're doing. What I was not really counting on in that conversation was the fact that most of the people that he worked with, they didn't do that. They carried the gun. That was their point. He very, very rarely, and what he was telling me was he very, very rarely actually carried or taught people who did not carry the gun regularly. Most everyone that he ever taught in the military was people that carried the gun all the time, active duty, active people, in combat. So it made quite a difference. Basically, everybody he worked with, man, they were super competitive. They always wanted to be the best, and that's great. I mean, that's the kind of people you want when they're going to be relying on that gun. That's the kind of people that you want in classes.
Right.
So basically, in a nutshell, his experience in teaching in the military, he was teaching the people that carried the guns on a regular basis. So everybody that was there, they wanted to learn. They were very motivated. Their job depended on it. If they couldn't pass certain qualifications, they were fired. They were off their particular squads or whatever. So they were very, very driven to do what they did. And then when he did teach some of the other, he did kind of run into that, but it wasn't his normal thing because he didn't normally teach those type of people.
I take it that his training classes were rather advanced then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, most of them were very, very advanced. He threw in some stories because, of course, he's Tim, and I can't even begin to act like I could retell his stories well, so I won't even try. I apologize. I hate so bad that this is completely like lost to the ether. So we've had a podcast before where we've recorded multiple times, and there was always something wrong. We have never had one in 114 episodes. We've never had one that once we uploaded it, there was like, this big issue until episode 115. Yeah. So we 114 episode streak as far as that goes. Hey, that's a pretty darn good streak. Yeah. There was one where I listed to come out at 12 p.m. instead of a.m. and it didn't come out to 12 hours later. But hey, other than that, we've never actually had a problem with the upload. So anyway, let's exit from here. I didn't bring Matthew on just to be a yes man to everything I was saying. We're talking about Tim. So we rode up this morning because we live close to each other. So we rode up this morning and was discussing what in the world are we going to talk about? We talked about all kinds of different things, some things way off subject because Matthew is my brother and he is just about as ADD as me. Maybe not quite, but he's close. So we start saying, hey, we're going to talk about that. And then all of a sudden we're talking about things that have nothing to do with anything. And then we bring ourselves back. And then it's just way off into the weeds somewhere. And then we bring ourselves back. And now I think we have settled on something. And that is as a topic that I wanted to do videos on for the YouTube channel. We're kind of taking a little bit of a lull on our YouTube channel with some of the other stuff outside of the podcast right now. We're just trying to get some of the things in order. And one that I would definitely not be opposed to talking about on the podcast. And we're going to talk about that. So basically the idea is, what is your EDC? What's your everyday carry? And how important is it?
As far as my EDC, I carry...
Wait.
Yes.
Let's talk. Let me ask you this before we get into this. Do you want to do just what's your everyday carry, all the time, everything, or specifically for self-defense?
I'll say everything.
Okay. All right. Let's get into it.
Okay. As far as my everyday carry, I carry Streamlight pocket flashlight. There we go.
For everybody on the audio podcast.
Yep.
Like the mini stream, something.
Yeah, micro stream. There
we go. Micro stream.
So
you carry the same one Kylie does.
Yes, I do.
Oh man, you
USB
carry the little
charging.
girl flashlight. That's cool.
Yeah. So USB charging, micro USB. Whatever.
And my answer to that would be the man's
Yeah, well,
version.
you paid more for that than I did, so
Well,
I
do
carry
have
a lot of stuff in my pocket. So.
I do have the joy of doing self-defense stuff for a living.
Right.
So, sometimes that comes with not a whole lot of perks, but a few.
Yeah.
So as far as flashlights, I carry every day the Streamlight ProTac 2XL. No, 2L, 2X. All right, continue.
All right. Minimalist wallet, and I don't remember the brand name, but minimalist wallet there.
Okay.
Yes.
I moved to Minimalist Wallet
Yes.
because, number one, you helped talk me into it. And then a couple other people said something to me about it. And my chiropractor told me, he says, listen, Brian, he said, you're sitting down doing desk work. That's really screwing up your lower back. Your
Right.
lower back, years of being thrown on the ground and fighting and doing all this stuff is kind of messed up a little bit. Your wallet's keeping it messed up. He said, because you carry everything in its brother in this wallet, which I was really bad to do. So I have this, maybe I shouldn't mention the brand because I'm not super hugely happy with it.
Gotcha.
I'm actually looking at getting another one, something a little different. I want something that's going to carry cash a little better. I found a couple, so we'll see.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I was going to say most minimalist wallets are for carrying cards only and maybe a few other things.
I know, and that's why I'm like, but I do better when I operate with cash. Anyway, go ahead. Next.
Next would be my car keys and house keys with a detachable keyring. Why? Because I used to carry a whole lot more keys than that, and I would have more keys on this side. I have since stopped carrying those keys and just keep the detachable keyring because it's easy to be working on something and go, here, do you need this?
So yeah, I got my keys, and I do have the detachable. I actually have quite a few keys on this one, and I have another one with more keys on it, and that section of this is just not with me today.
Right.
Because there's some days where I have, like, this is my main set of keys right here. This has got my vehicle keys. It has my house keys. It has the school keys. Yeah, I mean, that's got basically those keys. And then I have a whole other set of keys that are the ones I use less.
Right.
And so, like, on days like today, I didn't need to take it, so I just left the other set at home.
Yeah. As far as my left pocket, I have the Smith & Wesson, was it M&P
Extreme Ops.
Extreme Ops? That was it.
Oh, I wonder why I know that.
deploy. Yeah, I
Probably
know.
because I have the same thing, and we made a video on them. I actually made a couple of videos on it. I like it primarily because it is really easy to replace when it messes up. If you, and don't get me wrong, the Fox is still probably my favorite, like quick deploy karambit style knife. But when that one messes up, and it has, it's $140 to replace.
Yeah.
This one was $35.
Yeah. And with this one,
yes,
it
I'm on my
keeps a
second one.
great edge.
It really does.
You can sharpen it to a great edge, and then it keeps that for a long time. Quick deploy works great. The only issue I have is the safety.
Me too.
Because that safety will get locked. I will go to pull it out of my pocket, and it will not open. That
Someone
irritates me.
I know. Someone just commented like 2 days ago on one of our YouTube videos about this, one of the two I think we've done. And he said that he actually super glued his safety open.
Wow.
So if you want
I
to,
haven't thought about that.
I hadn't either. Now I did have one, the first one I've had fail of these, the springs got weak and it popped open entirely too easy. And it popped open in my pocket. Or it popped open when I was trying to put my jeans on.
That was fun, I'm sure.
Yeah. I just got one little scar from where I stabbed myself. But you know what? I'm still liking it, and I'm still going back to it, and that's still the one I'm using. So,
Oh, yes. A lighter. And no, I don't smoke.
so what's the purpose of the lighter?
For one, I have been accused of being a firebug.
Oh, no. I think the term is pyromaniac,
Okay,
and
whatever.
yes, you are. There is no
Fine. But still, yeah, as far as, if any emergencies were to happen, I can start a fire whenever I want. And I typically keep quite a bit of lighter fluid in there. And if it gets about halfway done, then I'll switch it out and keep that one at home for lighting candles, whatever. But, you never know when you need to burn something.
I'm pretty sure that's the statement of every pyromaniac.
Well, technically a pyromaniac is someone who burns something with disregard to whatever it may be. And I'm not that far yet.
You're just on the path.
I'm on the path. But more for survival than anything.
So if the zombie apocalypse hits,
Right.
you can at
catch
least
them all
have
on
fire.
Yep. I just need a can of hairspray, and that'd be great.
Oh, Jada,
sure.
Jada loves that. I taught her that for one of our videos. Yeah, she'd never seen that before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had a YouTube video for like what kind of things can you get at a gas station? If you're going to have to buy a quick self-defense weapon and something that you can. We did a whole podcast on it too.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
We had a video on that long before then. That podcast was based on a video that we did.
Gotcha.
Basically, and if you have to buy something that's not necessarily a weapon, but you've got to use it as a weapon in a moment. What do you get? She learned that day that a lighter plus hairspray equals flamethrower. So if you go watch that video, it's old. Okay, so I can't guarantee the quality. It probably looks like crap. Doesn't matter. Watch it all the way to the end, because at the end is her outside of our building experimenting with that, and the joy on her face,
I'm sure,
is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, but yeah, as far as the lighter, like I said, it's kind of one of the small survival things that I will carry, and it's just for if I need a fire, if I get cold, whatever it may be. Car broke down, something has happened, and I have to leave the car to go somewhere. I have the ability to make a fire.
Yeah,
easier.
Gotcha.
Let's see what else I have. Oh, fingernail clippers. That's because my wife can't stand that I used to chew my fingernails off, and I just keep it in
That's
my pocket.
a terrible habit.
It is a terrible habit. So I keep it in my pocket so that I don't chew my fingernails off, and I just clip my fingernails.
That's cool. I just have some here in all of my vehicles and at the house, so I'm almost never without them. I don't have them in my pocket because I got enough crap in my pocket as it is.
Yeah. I have greatly reduced the amount of things I carry. The third thing is chapstick. Again, my wife.
These are the yes dear items.
Yes. Yep. Those are the two yes dear items. And then something I forgot that I was carrying at the moment was
the fire tube.
Remember. Yeah, that is the correct term for it. Fire tube. So it's an expandable fire tube.
Okay, so to give you an example, if you're listening to this, it looks like an expandable straw. Expandable metal straw.
You can actually make them out of radio antennas, old radio antenna or TV antenna radiators.
Yeah.
So
that's also
a hole in both ends all the way through, and then
that's because he's a pyro.
Yeah, you can use it to blow air into a fire and not get your face in it, so you don't burn your eyebrows off
or your beard in your case.
I was going to say the eyebrows I've never done before. The beard I've singed a few times, and my hands quite a bit. So that's my EDC and my cell phone.
Yeah, I was about to say, okay, so I got the iPhone 13 Pro Max.
I have a OnePlus 8 with Lineage OS on it.
And that's funny because that was something that we were talking about doing, but we already have a good friend of mine from, we're talking about childhood, Thomas, coming on to do a video all about digital security. Because we even talked about that's a possibility. No. We've got Thomas coming on for that. Yeah. And he's been in and out of that field for IT and everything, or not in and out. He's been in that for 20 plus years at this point in time. No offense to you, but yeah, we're going to go with the guy who
I was in it for a year. So yeah, definitely go with the expert on that.
Yeah. And then I've got the Beats Audio, or Beats Pro, whatever they're called, wireless earbuds. As far as guns, we're not going to pull those out. But I carry the SIG X Macro, and that's kind of that's the one I go to. You're just getting the
M&P Shield.
Yes, M&P Shield Plus, because that thing is awesome. So I'm a huge fan of both of those guns. So heck yeah. I did forget to mention that I do carry the SOG Mini.
Oh, yeah.
I did forget to mention that I do carry the SOG Mini multi-tool. This thing is freaking awesome. Speaking of Thomas, he's the one that kind of turned me on to this. He had one of these, and I was like, oh, that looks cool. And I was carrying a full-size multi-tool in my pocket, and I didn't use it enough to, make up for the fact of how heavy and big it was and bulky in my pocket. This thing I have used so much. I love that thing. So, yeah, my bad. Sorry. I was sitting there going it feels like there should be more in my pocket. Oh, that's the thing.
Yeah. And all of this, with the exception of the coffee cup.
Yeah, it's not like coffee cups. They're not part
cell phone. It has its own separate pocket, but all of this I carry in my front pocket. And that is something I have done ever since I started carrying anything. So I don't carry anything in my back pocket, simply for, like I said, it's easier to lift. from your back pocket than your front pocket, because typically the front pockets are deeper. And of course, someone would have to reach around to actually do that. And yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen. And the second thing is, like your chiropractor was talking, if you're sitting with something in your back pocket, you're more likely to sit crooked, and it's gonna
screw your lower back up.
Yeah,
or keep it screwed up in my place. Yeah. So anyway, I've been wanting to actually do a "What is your EDC pocket dump" kind of series on YouTube. I think that would be fun to kind of randomly ask someone, all right, what do you have on you right now? And make them sit down at the table and dump everything out. So this was kind of like that with you.
Yeah.
So
it's a trial run. There we go.
Yeah, like a podcast episode, trial run, whatever.
And when I say EDC, I mean EDC. If I am walking around my house, this stuff is in my pockets.
Yes, with the exception of I do take my gun off when I am walking around the house.
Right.
Now, I do know people that wear a gun around the house all the time.
Yeah.
I do not. My gun is readily available when I am around the house, but it is not like on me.
Right. And if your gun is not readily available, then there are other guns readily available very close by.
No, basically most everything else is in kind of like longer term storage and stuff like that. Unless it's my wife's gun. And then, hers is also readily available when we're at the house. But yeah, I mean, everyday carry, this is the everyday carry. This is the stuff that's in my pockets all day, every day. Anyway. All right, guys. So you will notice if you are watching the video, both Matthew and I are wearing our Impact Defense gear. He's got an Impact Defense t-shirt on. I've got an Impact Defense hoodie on. You can find basically all of this and a lot more at our website, impactdefense.online. We have right now currently still a free course up on the website. That's not going anywhere. That's going to be there. We're going to have some other courses coming up. We are working, but like I said, we've had to take some steps back, slow some things down. But we are working on a kids abduction prevention course that will hopefully be coming out before long. That is primarily Kylie teaching that. We're going to have both a free and a paid version of that course. So I'm looking forward to kind of where we're going with some of this. We're just had a lot of stuff come up. So we've had to kind of take steps back from those and just kind of work on the things we need to work on at the moment. But check that and so much more out over at impactdefense.online. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. We would really, really appreciate, if I was Kylie, I would add in several more reallys, your ratings. Yeah, and pleases. If you could rate the podcast, it helps us out tremendously. Yeah, somehow we ended up ranking in Austria. I guess you heard that on the, okay. I couldn't remember if that was a couple back or if that was the one that lost. No. But yeah, we ranked in a couple of things in Austria, which completely blew me away. Yeah, those type of things, when you rate the podcast, it really, really helps. Also, guys, if you will look in the description, one of the first links in the description is a support us. If you go on there and support us for just 99 cents a month, that actually does more to help support us than going to YouTube and watching our entire catalog of every single video. If you watch every single video we've ever created on YouTube, that's a lot. And if you watch all of those, it still supports us less than just going on there and supporting us for 99 cents a month. Wow. Yeah. So I would really, really appreciate it, even if you just subscribed at that level to help us out, because all the sponsorships and all the stuff that we do, that still helps us out tremendously, because this is not a free endeavor. So any support is greatly appreciated.
All right, so I have a very important question. I haven't heard it addressed lately.
Okay.
Have you gotten a listener or viewer from South Dakota
Yeah,
yet?
yes, we did.
All right,
yeah,
good.
We did. I don't know how many, but we got actually confirmation on Facebook that we had a listener from South Dakota. I forgot there was a couple other things. And then in our analytics, we saw that finally there was... It's really weird though, but yeah, we saw that there was a listener in South Dakota. So yeah, we've now been listened to in all 50 U.S. states and U.S. territories.
Very cool.
Yep.
I thought if you were ranked in Austria, surely someone from South Dakota had to have stumbled upon your podcast.
It was just really weird to me that we didn't for so long.
I know.
All right, guys. So thank you very much, and we will see you in the next one.